Hello and welcome to another weekend with Game Day U. I'm Ashley Vandevelde alongside Parker Abels, Carly Murray, and Dylan Rivera will join us from Morgantown, West Virginia, where the Sooners are primed to take on the Mountaineers. But before we get into what's going on today, let's take a look back at last week's matchup against the Baylor Bears. Oklahoma struggled containing Baylor the whole game, but part of this is because Dillon Gabriel threw 3 interceptions. Gabriel's 3 missed punches allowed Baylor to dominate the possession margin and put the Sooners defense back out on the field. But penalties and allowing the Bears to score at critical points knocked OU down. Baylor finished off Oklahoma 38-35 in Norman, and this was a tough loss for the Sooners. I sat in that press conference room with Brent Venables, Parker, after, and he was clearly not happy about the loss, and he expected more from this team.
Yeah, you know, the Sooners fought the entire game, and it just wasn't enough to hold off the Bears. I know that loss hurt, and it's been on their mind all week, but they have another opportunity to win today, and I know they're excited about that.
That they do. Carly, Dylan, how are you both feeling about last weekend?
I'm Carly Murray, and alongside me is Dylan Rivera, and we're here in Morgantown for the Oklahoma Sooners versus West Virginia Mountaineers matchup. Dylan, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm a little cold. It's going to be cold today, so not looking forward to that, but should be a great game.
Now, before we talk about the game, let's talk about the Sooners game last week against the Baylor Bears, and the defense just left massive gaps on the field, and that allowed the Baylor's rushers to be explosive.
Yeah, and then on the offensive end as well, Marvin Mims and Dillon Gabriel struggled at Iowa State to find that connection, but it was there against the Bears. 4 catches, 120 yards for Marvin Mims, including a touchdown, so not a bad day at the office.
Thanks, guys. We'll be back to you soon. Meanwhile, tight end Braden Willis talked about what he thinks the Sooners need to fix on the team to win out their final 3 games.
We take for granted how little mistakes that we've made in the past, but it is football, and, you know, we got a big separation of age on this team, and, you know, it happens. So I think the biggest thing is learning from it, from it for the future, and learning from it for the next 3 games.
And from one receiving threat to another. Dylan mentioned this a second ago, but Marvin Mims struggled a lot against Iowa State, but had a huge bounce-back game versus Baylor. The Sooners are going to need him to continue that success today in order to get him going. Here's what Marvin had to say about his big day versus the Bears.
Felt great. You know, I kind of felt bad after the Iowa State game. You know, still came away with a win. You know, that's the biggest importance of that game, but I just feel like I let the team down. But at the end of the day, to come back, the Baylor game, played how I did, just people talking to me, coaches, teammates, you know, support staff, just people talking to me throughout the week, it definitely helped to play that game Saturday.
Teams in college football are going for it on 4th down, so it's important to have a 4-down mindset whenever they get on the field. Ted Roof says that his defense has been good on 3rd downs, but it all starts with the 1st down.
You play 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down affects 4th down too, and it all goes together. It's all a piece of the pie, and it's interwoven. So that everything we do is important. It's got to be with precision and extreme detail.
While the offense may not be up to recent OU standards, the Sooners still managed 35 points against the Bears last Saturday. Fans, of course, for no reason are pointing their fingers on Twitter at Jeff Lebby and Dillon Gabriel, but the Oklahoma quarterback knows there's a lot to like with this offense, and they've just got to continue to keep their head up.
And like I said, it's just a couple plays that we want from each game that ended up helping dictate what the result was. So it's unfortunate, but we got to continue to, you know, stay positive and get right for the next week.
Thanks, Dylan and Carly. We will hear from you again soon. Game Day U's Dakota McDowell-Wapakichi is live on campus in these cold temperatures with a heartwarming story. Dakota?
Yeah, when we come back, I'll have an in-depth look into a Sooner fan you most likely see at every athletic event. Don't leave. Game Day U will be right back.
Welcome back to Game Day U. Our very own Dakota McDowell-Wapakichi has more on a longtime OU superfan you probably recognize. Dakota?
Many Sooner fans see Mr. OU out and about at the games on Saturdays or even midweek. He's a landscaper here for the facility management team. But why does he go so hard at every Sooner athletic event? I was able to talk with the guy about his time and persona behind Mr. OU.
Boomer! Boomer!
Antonio Record, better known to many Sooner fans as Mr. OU, has been the guy to bring many smiles to fans from all over when in Norman or on the road supporting the Sooners. Although some can't remember the days whenever he wasn't there, his start wasn't too long ago. Before moving to Norman in 2018, he told his boss in Tulsa that he was going to let the world know about Mr. OU. That's whenever he quit his better-paying job to move down to Norman to work for the university, taking a pay cut just to make a difference in fans' lives.
I try to tell people, if you don't believe in God or whatever you believe in, you should watch me. I am one of the brokest people you would meet, and somehow God blesses me to get to these places.
It has not always been easy to make the games, as he has accepted donations from family, friends, and fans just to be able to attend the events. OU does not supply him with free tickets, but he said he will support his Sooners no matter what, because of the impact he can make on the kids in the stands. One of his most fond interactions came from a kid with meningitis during an OU lacrosse game after Kobe Bryant's death.
The little kid got out there, he got to cheer him on, he got to do everything. Turned out his mom finds me on Facebook and says, God brought you here to meet my son. Keep doing what you do. Told me about his story and said, all night he talked about you. He just talked about you. You made him believe that he can play for OU.
Now, Record told me that Mr. OU isn't about collecting publicity, and rarely does he talk about emotional topics, but says Mr. OU is meant for the people.
I tell people, if I made you smile, made you laugh, made you cry, made you dance, Mr. OU did his job.
All right. When Mr. OU and I talked this week, talked about how the many kids have impacted his life, including the Sooner fans. Reporting from this braked up pile of leaves, Dakota McDowell-Wapakichi, Gameday U.
Now, Gameday U's Jimmy Wicks has a special look at an athlete right in the Sooners' backyard who is headed to Norman.
For the first year of the Brent Venables era, it has been up and down on the field, but this recruiting class is nothing short of stellar. Oklahoma is currently ranked 7th in the country via 24/7 Sports, which is one of the highest in recent memory. But for one, coming to OU means just a bit more. Jacoby Johnson grew up in the shadow of Gaylord Memorial Stadium, playing his high school ball at Mustang, Oklahoma. But the process of coming to OU is more than just on the field.
Just talking about just life in general, not so much football. And then that's how it's been, I'd say, as far as the recruiting process.
The question for younger players is typically when they will play, but for Johnson, it's where. For Mustang, Johnson plays both sides of the ball, and that may not change at OU.
I want to try to do a little bit of both. Maybe if I pick I'll have to pick a dominant position, but maybe get a little bit of the other one. Like, for example, if I pick to play cornerback, maybe go in, run a few plays on offense in the game or something like that.
And for the hometown product, he knows the challenges of playing in front of a sold-out crowd in Norman.
Oh, it's going to be different for sure. That's going to be the main thing for me is getting used to that college atmosphere. I think because right now I'm learning they're trying to show me the stuff, like the coverages and offensive plays, all this different stuff. So when I get there, it'll be so much as just working hard and doing all this other stuff. So.
And whether it's offense or defense, you can catch Jacoby Johnson at the Palace on the Prairie on Saturdays next season. Now, whether it be offense or defense, we will just have to wait and see. From outside Gaylord Memorial Stadium, Jimmy Wicks, OU Nightly.
Well, it's definitely going to be thrilling, Parker, once Jacoby is in Norman and to see how he balances everything. We'll have more to come on the Sooners matchup today in West Virginia, though.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to be good. Unfortunately for him, he only has one high school game left because he's going to lose some My Jinx Trojans next Friday, who also beat the Bixby Spartans. Shout out to them last week. But I am excited to see him in Norman next year.
Parker knows his Oklahoma high school football, but Carly and Dylan, what are your thoughts on Jacoby Johnson?
Well, I'm sure the Oklahoma staff is really looking forward to having Jacoby Johnson on their squad.
Yeah, I had a chance to call him playing a game against Southmore this year, and he was able to put up 4 touchdowns on the day. Actually had 5, but 1 was called back. All of them from a different aspect of the game, whether it was a kick return, a pick and taking it to the house, or an offensive touchdown. He was an incredible player.
Well, I'm really hoping that he can do that in the Crimson and Cream. Coming up, we'll have more on the Big 12 standings and a closer look at West Virginia.
It's time to take a look at OU's opponent today in West Virginia. What can we expect from the Mountaineers? Now, the Sooners haven't set foot in West Virginia territory since 2018, so I'm curious with the off-and-on year OU is having in the unfamiliar territory, how this will affect the team.
Yeah, West Virginia is a very hostile environment, and they've been very good at home this far. They beat Baylor on their home turf, which was a signature win for them. They also have former five-star JT Daniels at the helm. With him and Bryce Ford Wheaton, you never know what to expect from them.
It will bear well for the Sooners. This game isn't at night, too, but Dylan, Carly, what are you guys expecting from OU's opponent?
The Mountaineers are on a 3-game losing streak. They lost to Texas Tech, TCU, then Iowa State. But don't knock them. They average 32 points per game. But JT Daniels has thrown 8 interceptions this season.
Well, to that end about losing, this is the first time that Oklahoma will play a West Virginia team that has a losing record. Never in their history have they played a losing West Virginia team. They played 13 times. Oklahoma has won 11 of those games. Also, we touched on it again for OU Nightly. This is the first time that Oklahoma has been here since 2018, so it's been a few years since they've been up here in the hills. Ashley?
Now we are going to toss it to Stone Weber and Hallie Moss about a special connection between two West Virginia players.
Family ties are far and wide for West Virginia, and for wide receiver Bryce Ford Wheaton, that is no exception.
The junior standout is a third-generation Mountaineer, and now it's his turn to make his family proud.
It's been like a cool experience, honestly, because, you know, I've been coming to games since I was a little kid. So to finally, you know, be able to put on the jersey, run out the tunnel, play for my dream school, has been something that's like, you know, a dream.
There's plenty of connections in Morgantown, and this is the case for 2 West Virginia natives.
Learning how to be teammates is nothing new for center Zach Frazier and defensive lineman Dante Stills, who have been playing together since their Pee Wee football days.
Cool growing up together and really going along, you know, the same middle school, same high school, same college together. It's really special. And, you know, to have someone like that across from the ball to really make you better every day, it's really special.
West Virginia looks to get over the hump in Neil Brown's 4th year, and they look to beat OU for the first time since joining the Big 12.
Tune in to find out if they can finally take down the Sooners on November 12th. I'm Hallie Moss with Stone Weber, reporting from AT&T Stadium, Gameday U.
Now, it's not all about West Virginia and Oklahoma. There's plenty of other Big 12 action across the conference, so it's time to take a closer look. Kansas knocked off number 18 Oklahoma State last Saturday, and the goalposts in Lawrence were also knocked down. KU looks for another win in Lubbock this weekend, but Texas Tech is fighting right now to make it to a bowl game, sitting at a 4-5 record.
Yeah, and the other Kansas team, of course, the Kansas State Wildcats, are coming off a tough loss to the Longhorns and now have a big road test versus Baylor. The two could be fighting for a spot in the Big 12 championship, as the winner could be in sole second place, depending on how the Longhorns do versus TCU. But Baylor is on a 3-game win streak, and the Wildcats will have their hands full in Waco.
Now back to Morgantown. Carly, Dylan, what are you taking notice of across the Big 12?
The TCU Horned Frogs head down to the 40 acres to play Steve Sarkisian's Texas Longhorns. And this Texas team just beat a good Kansas State team. And TCU is still undefeated thanks to QB1 Max Duggan. But TCU's weak spot is their defense. Sonny Dykes' defense lets up 27 points per game. And I don't think that they can stop Texas. They have so many playmakers.
How about Oklahoma State? Not looking so hot for the Pokes right now. Back-to-back losses, really embarrassing back-to-back losses, I should say. And let me look at the numbers. Outscored 85-16 in the last 8 quarters of action. Hasn't been so hot for Oklahoma State. Obviously, life without Spencer Sanders, not doing so well.
We've got more coverage of what you can expect from the Sooners in Morgantown coming right up. Welcome back to Game Day U. I'm Ashley Vandevelde, joined here with Parker Abels and Carly Murray and Dylan Rivera in Morgantown, West Virginia. But it's time to talk what we're looking for out of this OU team today in Morgantown. And I'm going to be frank, Dylan Gabriel just can't throw 3 interceptions like he did against Baylor last weekend. I know he's aware of that, but this could have saved the Sooners against Baylor. I don't think it would have with the way the OU defense was looking, but there's a shot with this West Virginia team to come out with a Sooner win if the offense isn't messy on turnovers.
Yeah, DG does need to bounce back today, and I think he will, though, especially with the help of the O-line. Now, when watching these clips, don't look at the ball, look at the O-line. They have been great both in the running and passing game this year. They have created huge holes for Eric Gray and company and given DG enough time to get the ball out. They need to hit the Mountaineers in the mouth early and get that going. And You've heard our thoughts. Now let's toss it over to the West Virginia crew one last time, guys.
The Sooners have got to improve in gap integrity. Gap integrity starts with lining up at the line of scrimmage. The defensive line were not in their proper gaps after the ball was snapped, and that left massive holes, and that's how Baylor's run game was able to be so efficient last weekend. You can't have multiple guys in the same gap and have voids on the field.
Well, to that point, Carly, let's just call out the whole front seven because I want to call out the linebackers for nearly the same thing. This clip right here is all the proof you need that something isn't translating with this group. Both Stutzman and Kennick rush into the same gap and leave a massive hole for Craig Williams to walk through untouched. 6 points on the board. Stay patient, feed your gap, read the blockers, get over the top and finish.
Okay, Dylan, let's move on to score predictions. I think that this will be an offensive matchup. I have Oklahoma beating West Virginia 35-30.
I completely agree with you on the 35. I think Oklahoma gets 35 for back-to-back weeks. West Virginia puts up 24, so 35-24 the final score. Sooners walk away with a win.
Well, that's all from us here in Morgantown. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, guys. I say OU rebounds and gets out of West Virginia with a 34-17 win over the Mountaineers. What about you, Parker?
Yeah, I'm actually going to pull a Kirk Herbstreit, and I'm not going to give my pick just yet. I'm unfortunately not calling the game like he would, but I'll be giving my pick at the end of the show, so stick around for our game day picks.
I'm Ashley Vandevelde, and we're back here on Game Day U, joined still by Parker Abels and some new faces in Zoe Watson and Hallie Moss. And it's time to cover the whole college football landscape in today's top matchups. First off, a big one in college football and in Big 12 play as TCU faces their toughest road game yet in Austin against number 18 Texas. Will the Horned Frogs make it 10-0?
Yes, they will. Texas is not back. If there is a team that's going to end TCU's undefeated streak, it's not going to be Texas. They beat K-State, but I do not have enough confidence in Quinn Ewers and this Texas team to say they're going to stop Max Duggan and the Horned Frogs. Still, it's going to be a close game, a great game to watch this weekend, the game to watch this weekend. TCU has no margin for error. If they want to stay in the running for the playoffs, they have to win.
And remember, TCU is ranked 4th in the AP poll. Max Duggan has 161 completed passes for the season, and TCU averages 43 points per game. The only thing going for Texas is that it's a home game. 8 players on the defense have over 20 solo tackles. They'll be able to shut down Bijan Robinson.
You said the Horns are at home, and they have like the entire class of 2023 visiting, and they're going to play their butts off. My only concern is their second half woes, but as long as they keep Bijan going, best running back in college football right there, they're going to be able to hold off TCU long enough in the second half to get the win. Horns get it.
Big recruiting weekend for Texas for sure. Now, number 15, North Carolina has a test at Wake Forest. Will the Tar Heels pick up their second loss of the season today?
Now, I don't know if these two words exactly go together, but I'm having some faith in the Demon Deacons. They're coming off of 2 losses, but let's not forget Wake Forest entered this season in the top 25 and got as high as number 10 in the AP poll just 2 weeks ago. Also have some faith in Sam Hartman. He's one of the ACC's best quarterbacks, averaging 302 passing yards.
Yes, Hallie. And even Sam Hartman's completion rate is 61%. That's pretty good. And Christian Turner has 6 touchdowns. Defensive side, Isaiah Wingfield has 5 interceptions. It's going to be a tough game for the Demon Deacons, but I think with a strong defense, they'll come out on top. And UCF only has 5 one-possession games, and they've won all of them. And I don't think the luck will be on their side today.
All right, I love Sam Hartman as much as the next guy. I even watched him on QB1 when I was in high school. Man, I loved him, but I got to go with my fighting Mac Browns. Drake May is just too good. Wake has been struggling, and that black and gold just isn't going to be able to handle that high-powered UNC offense. UNC's winning today.
Rolling with the Tide, Alabama heads west again this week, looking to avenge a loss at LSU last weekend. Will Ole Miss rebel and beat the Crimson Tide?
Roll Tide, baby. This is not the beginning of the end of the Nick Saban dynasty. Every great team faces bumps in the road, and they're going to lose sometimes, but I can tell you one thing, it will not be to Ole Miss. Ole Miss does not have enough legitimate talent on either side of the ball to take down Bama, even the beatable Bama that we've seen at times this season. I think every team Ole Miss has faced this season is pretty mediocre except for LSU, and they lost to them in far worse fashion than Alabama did. I will say I have been loving Lane Kiffin in the media recently, though. Zero chill.
Yeah, Hallie, he's even referencing Taylor Swift's album in his recent interviews. But I think Alabama will come out guns blazing for this game, losing 1 and now 2 games. That's not how Alabama rolls. And the composure of Bryce Young with 2,234 passing yards, it's going to be a good game for them, hopefully. And then the defense, I mean, Kool-Aid McKinstry, he's amazing. 22 tackles and 12 pass deflections. He's got this game going.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time Nick Saban lost back-to-back games. I mean, I'm a big Ole Miss guy, but Saban's going to be mad, and he's going to get the win today.
And now it is time to pick the hometown team. Are the Sooners bringing the win back to Norman and keeping the undefeated streak over the Mountaineers going?
Boomer Sooner, please don't let me down. Oklahoma hasn't been the best in the Big 12, but West Virginia has been worse. OU's bouncing back after the losses that they've had, and I think they're going to bring the win back from Morgantown.
And I think OU will be going into this game with a chip on their shoulder. They don't like to lose. But I think I have to say West Virginia is going to come out to pull all the stops. Even tight end C.J. Donaldson averages 6 yards per carry, and Dylan Gamer with no interceptions. West Virginia wins the game.
Come on, Zoe. No, OU's going to win. West Virginia's the worst team in the country, or the worst team in the Big 12. OU's going to win.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Game Day U. I'm Ashley Vandevelde. For Parker Abel, Zoe Watson, Hallie Moss, and our crew in West Virginia, have a fun game day because they're almost coming to an end.